Donald Trump had a major cognitive episode during a dystopian authoritarian rally in Claremont, New Hampshire over the weekend. What happened at this rally has pushed the Trump cognitive decline story mainstream. Corporate media is now talking about Trump's cognitive decline. Trump's Republican challengers are now talking about Trump's cognitive decline. We've been seeing it coming for a very long time. And it wasn't just us. It's not, a pat on the back, although I'll take it, please. But it was not just us who saw this coming. Here is Donald Trump again. He says, I'm going off teleprompter, and once again seems to think that Barack Obama is currently the president of the United States.
One story, a quick story. You don't mind if I go off teleprompter like a lot, do you? So much more exciting. So much more. But the head of Hungary, a very tough, strong guy, Viktor Orban. Did anybody ever hear of him? Probably, considered very powerful within his country and outside of his country. Not exactly loved by some of the European nations because he does his thing. He didn't allow millions of people to invade his country. He allowed nobody to invade. Zero. He had nobody. So he doesn't have crime, and he doesn't have the problems that they're having in other countries where millions of people are allowed to go in. But they were interviewing him 2 weeks ago, and they said, what would you advise President Obama? The whole world seems to be exploding and imploding. And he said, it's very simple. He should immediately resign, and they should replace him with President Trump.
There you go. What is it that should happen to President Obama right now? Well, President Obama should resign. When he doesn't have the prompter, he repeatedly says things like Obama is the president of the United States. That which he accuses Joe Biden of being unable to make sense without a teleprompter, is actually true of Donald Trump. And so we'll get back to the cognitive decline story, because this is now not an obscure story on YouTube. This story has now gone mainstream. Now, also extraordinarily disturbing from this rally, here is Donald Trump echoing Adolf Hitler during the rally, talking about rooting out the vermin from the country, the language that the Nazis used about Jews.
Today, especially in honor of our great veterans on Veterans Day, we pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections and will do anything possible. They'll do anything.
This is a Hitler quote, almost verbatim. Now, does Trump know that? Honestly, I have no idea. We know Trump doesn't read anything, but he used to keep a book of Hitler speeches on his nightstand, according to one of his ex-wives. Is it possible Trump knows that, or is this just a beauty read off of the teleprompter written by somebody else? It doesn't really matter, but it is the language of the Nazis that Trump is adopting. Trump, with continued cognitive struggles, telling a crowd of supporters in New Hampshire that he was indicted in his civil fraud trial. Now, you don't get indicted, you get sued. But Trump seems to think he was indicted.
He says, how can it happen? They got me in New York, where my company turned out to be a great company instead of a bad company. They indicted me because they said I inflated numbers, and my numbers, it turned out, were extremely conservative.
Trump was not indicted in the civil fraud trial. Now, in his defense, okay, I'm gonna give you the defense of this one. Let's be charitable. If I had been indicted for as many crimes as Trump has been indicted in, I might also wrongly assume that the civil fraud trial is an indictment too. So I'm willing to give Trump a pass on this one. Now, there was a genuinely funny moment at this rally. Donald Trump actually joked about Ron DeSantis's high heels. I actually thought that this was funny, and Trump mimicking the way that DeSantis is forced to walk because of his high heels. The one funny moment in a context of total dystopian authoritarian house of horrors.
And I'm not wearing lifts either, by the way. I don't have 6-inch heels. Actually, the greatest moment of the debate when Ron DeSanctimonious was walking off the stage, and his feet, it's weird, because his cowboy boots, so they have a high heel outside, but inside you got a big deal going on. And he's walking like... No, he's walking off the stage like he's trying to balance himself. I thought he was wearing ice skates. No.
That's actually some good stuff. That is genuinely good stuff there, but it was mostly horrible. Trump then doing the Chris Christie routine. Trump does this thing at rallies where he won't directly call Chris Christie a, quote, fat pig, but he'll either, I don't know if he's pretending to hear someone call him a fat pig from the audience, or if people in the audience are really yelling out he's a fat pig when Trump mentions Chris Christie. But the way Trump does it is he pretends to admonish the audience and say, no, he's not a fat pig, which of course is a way of bringing up the term fat pig and Chris Christie in the same sentence.
They said, this man said something he shouldn't say. I will defend. He said, Chris Christie is a fat pig. You cannot say that, sir. You can. Please take that back. Please take that back. No. They said this man.
Trump also apparently continuing to violate gag orders that have been placed on him while he was, of course, attacking Special Prosecutor Jack Smith. He also included Jack Smith's family in this. Is any judge going to have the audacity, the courage, the bravery to actually jail Trump and say, you violated the gag order enough times, we're throwing you in jail for the weekend?
Deranged Jack Smith. Have you ever heard of him? He's a lovely man. Do you ever see him with the purple little thing? He's a lovely man. The Trump-hating prosecutor in the case, his wife and family despise me much more than he does, and he decides, I think he's about a 10. They're about a 15 on a scale of 10. And he was involved, Jack Smith, the deranged one, I call him.
There you go. Another apparent violation of Trump's gag order. And then just a couple other things to highlight. Trump with a completely, maybe I'm not smart enough. English is my second language. Maybe I have a limitation. I don't know what the hell Trump is talking about in this rant.
And we're becoming a drug haven. China many years ago was being taken over by much smaller countries because they were all drugged out on the poppy fields, the drugs, heroin, different drugs, but they were all drugged out. The nation was drugged out. And then along came a very powerful leader. You know who that is? And he said, no more. What? And from that time pretty much until now, they've been strong, but they were all drugged out. And our nation's becoming that way. Okay, our nation's becoming that way. You look at our nation, that you almost say, how does it survive when so many people are absolutely sick?
Right, and the crowd understandably silent at that point. And then lastly, and I did not find anything like this in the history books, Trump claims that before he was president, officials at the VA, the Veterans Affairs Department, could legally murder veterans and not only not be prosecuted, but keep their jobs.
Terrible. They would treat them terribly, and you couldn't do a damn thing about it. They'd be in there, and they were sadists. They had people, this wasn't prime time for our people, and they weren't able to defend themselves. They had people that would really mistreat our veterans, and we couldn't do a thing about it because of the laws, civil service and otherwise. You couldn't do a thing. They could be as bad as they wanted. They could do everything up to murder. And the way they treated some of these people were just horrible people.
I don't remember that. I looked it up. I was able to find no evidence that VA officials were just able to kill veterans. And it sounds unrealistic at its core. So the big story from this rally, really two stories. Number one, continued dictatorial wet dreams from Donald Trump. But maybe more notable in terms of the media coverage and what's happening with the Republican challengers is the Trump cognitive decline story, which I want to focus in on in a slightly different way right now. 30 million trees are destroyed every year for toilet paper in the U.S. alone. So toilet paper is a big contributor to deforestation and climate change. Our sponsor, Real Paper, makes toilet paper from bamboo. Bamboo plants keep growing. which means no deforestation. Bamboo also absorbs 5 times as much carbon from the atmosphere as pine trees. And bamboo toilet paper is stronger than regular toilet paper and even softer. So bamboo toilet paper is all around a win for you and for the environment. It's time to move on from that toilet paper from trees that you're using at home. When you use real paper, it doesn't feel like you're sacrificing anything. It's soft and fluffy, and they'll ship it to your door in plastic-free packaging on a schedule. Super easy. With every box of real paper you buy, they are funding reforestation efforts across the country through their partnership with One Tree Planted. So unlike the toilet paper that cuts down trees, Real is helping to actively plant them. Go to realpaper.com/Pacman and use code Pacman for 30% off your first order and free shipping. The link is down below.